Welcome back, everybody, to the Nude and Lude podcast. I am Julie Cole.
And I'm Joanna Derrick.
And we're excited to have you here with us today. Thank you to everybody who's continued to support us, and we're just really grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here. I can't speak for you.
Yeah, I don't know what I am today. I'm here.
You know, we talking about femininity, and I laughed at a post that I sent to you last night, and they were talking about learning to rest around your cycle. So,
Yes,
the value of it, right?
Yeah.
So we won't say any more than that.
Yeah. There's no forcing through it anymore. I think
right.
Becoming of a woman of a certain age, you just.
Oh man, this perimenopausal stuff is no joke. It's next level stuff.
Yeah. You're getting some real raunchy stuff right now.
But
I won't.
So it's interesting. In talking before the episode, we were batting around a lot of different topics, but none of them felt like they were like landing for us. And so we decided, we've mentioned Mike a number of times. We've talked about how you're a widow, and I know that's a hard word to say, you know.
It's just strange.
I know it is strange for me too.
Yeah.
That your husband passed away, and that there's a story there. And we decided today just to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Scott, our producer, was like, "Oh, y'all are having trouble coming up with a topic? Ask me." And we're like, "All right, give us a topic." And he was like, "Your story, Mike's story." Yeah, he's like, you could work that out like 5 episodes.
Yeah, we got to stop dancing around it too. Like at some point, like rip the Band-Aid off, tell the story.
Yeah,
so that people know what we're referencing.
Yes,
because it's a big story.
It is a story that could only have been set in motion and orchestrated by a higher power.
Yeah,
I mean, it is God for me. But it is some of the. I've written many, many times that people who did not walk through life with me during that time, I'm sure that they probably read and see me talk or hear me talk, and it's like, bullshit.
Yeah.
That shit didn't happen.
Yeah.
You're making that up. You're exaggerating. It totally did. No, I am not.
No.
That shit happened.
Well, and to also realize just how like profoundly life-altering that is.
Yes. It was the single, and I've had some other life-altering events in my life. This one changed me. It changed my DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the way that my heart functions, my brain functions, my body functions, everything. It changed everything. Mm-hmm. The ripples that came off of it.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm going to do a gratitude point real quick. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I have I think that I want to say, my instinct is to say gratitude for perspective, not as a fixed state, but as an evolutionary state, right? Perspective, open-handed perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm grateful for, God, as much as it hurts, they hurt those people that come into our lives and upend and shake it up and shake it out. And it's necessary.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
Oh, it totally forces us to contend with ourselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Get real clarity about ourselves.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And the growing clarity of those who do that for us and get to stay. Yeah. And those that need to go. Yeah. Yeah. They've served the purpose. The relationship has served, and it's time to,
Yeah, that all happens on a continuum. There, and as we get older, especially, taking that concept of evolution, we really kind of get clear about who has permission to be on those in the inner parts of our lives, because we're really protecting those things.
Yes, absolutely.
And that sometimes we, whether we intend to or not, we inadvertently let the wolf into the hen house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
In many ways.
In many ways.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Yeah.
All right. You just want to rip the Band-Aid off and get to it?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know another way to segue into it than just to do it.
Yeah.
So you want to start by, you knew Mike before y'all, to start with when you first ever really met him.
Yeah, because even that is strange in and of itself. So we went to the same church together for 10. You all right?
I just inhaled my coffee.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
We went to the same church together for 10 years and never met each other. He claims to have, noticed me, known who I was or whatever, but I sure as hell never noticed him, didn't know who he was. I was going through a divorce during that time. I had a child that was born that needed lots and lots of medical attention. I was eyes and nose down. I didn't, tunnel vision. So 10 years, never met the man. And one day I'm sitting in church and the pastor is talking about this mission trip to Belize. Mm-hmm. And I remember standing up, walking out of the church while church is still going on to go look for John Heflick, who was the missions coordinator, to give him my...
Shout out to John and April.
That's right, yes. To give him my down payment check because it was happening in like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And so I found him. I remember him looking at me kind of funny. I didn't care. I was on a mission to go on a mission. And so gave him the check, went back in church and hallelujah'd. And so I found out later that this was a construction trip to Belize to build a kitchen, and that it was a men's trip, and that I had forced myself upon this men's trip. And so they now needed to find another woman to go so that I wasn't the other, only woman. And so they found a woman named Jo. So Jo and Joanna.
Jo and Jo.
Yeah, Jo and Jo. And she went also, thank God.
Right.
Yep. I remember, though, going into the meeting before we left. It was like a week before we left, and I sat down beside this man. I remember looking at him, looking at his left hand to see if there was a ring on it. Mm-hmm. I didn't particularly think he was like handsome or good looking or anything like that, but I was just at that point in my life where I was like, just on radar constantly looking for a man.
Well, I'm going to say that also too, Mike had big dick energy. So
he did have big dick energy.
I'm just going to call it what it is. Like he just had big dick energy. So
he did,
he
did. He seemed like he was like 6'7".
Yeah.
I'll tell that story later because that's just fucking funny. Oh, that man. So anyway, I saw, he doesn't have a ring on his finger. Okay, whatever. But I don't even, I'm like, Joanna, you don't even find him particularly attractive, but something drew me to him.
Yeah.
So I look at him. This is when I was very much into eating all the right stuff and always eating all the right stuff, and I looked at him and I went like this and said, do I have kale in my teeth? And he looked at me and said, what the hell's kale? Because he was just a country man. And he wasn't also the enigma of Mike. So anyway, we go through the meeting, get to the airport the morning of. He's not there. I was looking for him for some reason. Again, I guess I felt, there was something there. So the next thing I know, he comes like literally sliding into home base, into the airport, like 5 minutes before we have to go through customs and all that kind of stuff. There he is. His entire bag pops open. Everything flies out. He's got tools everywhere. And I'm just like, this man is
a mess.
A mess. Perfect.
Somebody I can fix all these tools to put him back together.
Yes, that wasn't like metaphorical. So anyway, we go through the trip. Everything goes great. We're completely, flirting the whole time, looking for each other. But in a sweet way. It really was a sweet way. Right. We'd, after working all day long, we'd go shower and everything, and then come back out, and I could see him, looking over at the purple house that Joe and I lived in there for the week, and looking for me, and I'd walk out and look on the little bridge for him where he was always looking for cell reception for his phone. And so, yeah, it was a sweet time. And I remember coming back home and going on a walk with one of my best friends, Mary Ellen, and telling her I met the man I'm going to marry. Mm-hmm. Like, we're getting married. And we started seeing each other. And so this was at the end of January, beginning of February. We were engaged by June 8th. and married September 7th. It was very quick.
Yeah.
At the time, I rationalized the haste by, age. I know what I want. He knows what he wants. He had never been married. I rationalized it by, we're both Christians. We shouldn't have to wait. I didn't want to have sex before we got married. That didn't work. But then there was this guilt because I was very much into Christianity and all the, rules that go with Christianity at the time. And so, yeah, it was just let's hurry up and get this done. We've got a family to blend. We've got a life, to lead and all that kind of stuff and fun to be had. And so we got married. Do you want me to talk about any stuff along the way there that like red flagged or anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, whatever you feel like is significant as part of the story.
Okay. Yeah, I probably do need to, just so I don't look like I'm so Pollyanna about everything. There were definite times, I remember specifically, I was at my house. This is very soon into the relationship, and I was doing a module. I was taking the course, the integrative health course, to become a certified health coach, and I was doing this module, and it was like 10 o'clock, and I hadn't heard from him 10 in the morning, and that was not normal.
Right.
And so,
ping.
Right. I'm like, what the hell?
The intuition. God.
Yes. Yeah. And anyway, he explained it that he had, slept in and all that kind of stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, that is not him, though. He does not sleep in. I've seen it or talked to him enough at this point to know this man doesn't sleep in.
Right.
But okay.
It's an anomalous experience.
Yes, it was. But it was a one-off kind of deal. And so, fine. Doesn't happen again. It doesn't happen again. And if it does, I'll do something with it then. So there was that. And then about 2 weeks before our wedding, I was at one of my kids' schools and walking into it, and I was just having a full-on panic attack. And I remember calling my pastor, and he said to me, and it was the panic was around marriage and Mike, and I remember him saying, if you don't think this is right, back out. He said, this is your last chance to be selfish with this. He said, once you're married, the laws of Christianity, the laws of the land, all that kind of stuff, it just becomes a lot more obviously entangled.
Yes.
And he said, so if you have any doubt, don't.
Yeah.
And I pushed on.
That's a whole nother layer of the story too, because for both of us, there were some really key times that person was very supportive and was actually a champion for us in very key ways. And, and we ended up being hurt very deeply in the end. Yes. Yeah.
That is a whole other, you're right. My God, we could make this 10 sessions. So we got married. Everything, the wedding was fantastic. Everything I wanted it to be. It was a little, country wedding on a little piece of land on the lake, and we roasted a hog, and
Joanna had her curly hair then.
Yes, very curly hair that my sister-in-law Chelsea pinned up for me, and I had little loose things. It was just very romantic and all that kind of stuff. And his dad and I had made moonshine, and I made sweet tea moonshine, and I can't remember, grape moonshine, and I can't remember, but we had them in little containers, and it was just cute. Very kitsch and cute and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, got married. One other time that it was a couple days before we got married, and I had gone ahead and moved all of our stuff to his house from Irmo to Chapin. And I remember taking that last load and thinking, we just can stay here now. Why would I go back to my house? I I think I might have left a mattress, but there were 4 of us. You know, I had 3 kids at the time. And so I thought, everything's set up here. I'm just going to start living here, you know, and didn't think there was a need to run that by him. I mean, obviously he knew we were moving in, you know. And I remember him coming home from work that day and being like, what's going on? And I said, we're just going to stay. You know, it's time to, everything's here, we're staying. And I remember he turned white and whiter than he was. And he, you know, said, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, what do you mean you're not ready for that? We're getting married in like 2-3 days.
Yeah.
You know, what does 2 days matter?
Right.
But I get it now, you know, and as this story unfolds, you, the listener, will get that too.
Sure. What year did y'all get married? I'm going to write that down for my.
2013.
13.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, September of 2013. So, get married, you know, we're doing the thing. We're going to tractor pulls. We're having fun. It really was legitimately fun. And I have a tendency to morph into doing it, whatever it is that the man I'm with does, you know. But I like it, you know. I mean, it's different. I love adventure. I love doing new things, and so this to me was like just doing new shit.
Military trucks and
monster trucks and tractor pulls and living the country life and chickens and goats and all that kind of stuff.
You know, as a side note, I think that at some point we need to talk about the juxtaposition of your backyard, because I think that's also a reflection of the 2 sides of us we were talking about. Like, you remember how it used to be split, and then the side with the chickens and the dogs and the garden was all full of life, and then the side with the goats was just clean, bare dirt and goats. Like,
yes.
I mean, literally, it was like literally 2, and then you'd be sitting at that back couch at that back bay window, and the goat would be like, donk, 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 hitting the window.
God, yeah, high tower. High tower, the goat that Lauren now has.
So sorry, but I was thinking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Like, even that, you know.
It is a
And the escaped chicken.
Yeah, Chickaletta. Yeah, I had a chicken that used to, every day at like 5:30, she'd hop over the fence. And
on Amex Ferry Road, Chapin,
on
by the
Amex
way.
Ferry Road, yeah, and she'd ride around on my shoulder, and I'd walk around, you know, lady of the manor, drinking my glass of wine and looking at the flowers in the garden and all that kind of stuff. But one day, Chickaletta did not come, and I think somebody, she'd hopped over the fence, not at the assigned time.
Sure.
And something had gotten her.
Well, there had been a couple of times when somebody had stopped and gotten her out of the road and brought her back. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yes.
You know.
Poor girl. She's sweet.
I think one time I texted you and was like, I think your chicken's in the
you
road.
Did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was heading out to my dad's house and I was like, Joanne's chicken's loose, you know.
Yep.
But if it was, you know, me going to my dad's like in the middle of that time of the day, I was probably picking up a kid or doing something, was on a tight time frame. But yeah, I can remember, like, I thought I had texted you and said, I think your chicken's loose again.
You did. You did. I went to the road and got her.
Chapin life.
Yep. Yeah, so
you got married, moved in.
Yeah, got married, moved in. Time, you know, we did all the things. There were a couple times along the way that I would stumble into something, or like talking to someone, female, and I would get this ripple of energy through me.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very familiar with that.
Yes, and it didn't feel good, and I knew exactly what it was, and I talked myself out of it.
Yeah.
And let him talk me out of it also. Mm-hmm. You know, I would every time confront him, and I'm not talking about a ton of times, you know, this is maybe 2 or 3 times.
Right.
But significant enough, I can still remember the way it felt. I can remember what it looked like, you know, everything. And he would, you know, convince me otherwise, whether it was him getting big and loud or him getting small and quiet. He would always convince me that there was nothing to be worried about, nothing there, you know, and I would eat that shit up.
I think another episode idea just like is that piece of like, you know, that piece of interplay, right? Because I can remember that specifically. I mean, that was huge with my ex. Like, That was huge. I mean, and I think that was a big one. And there would always be like these, every once in a while, there would be something that I would interpret as that. You know, I'd find a phone number and he'd be like, let's call this phone number. And it would be like the halfway house my brother was living at.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would feel like I was stupid. And that would be the piece that would make me discount everything else.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And they know that.
Yeah.
So 2013 finished out. 2014, I got pregnant in March, miscarried, got pregnant the next month with Colton. Mm-hmm. And it was a normal, healthy, as far as my body was concerned, pregnancy. There were lots of fights and lots of conflict. The conflict.
Scott just asked what the conflict was about.
What was the conflict about? The conflict usually was about children, blended family, which was easy for me to, well, this is just what happens, with blended families. Mm-hmm. Blended families are not easy. What did you expect, Joanna? That kind of thing. Mike has a son from another relationship, and he would come every other weekend, and, that was a different element being introduced. But
it was a complicated element, too.
Yeah, mm-hmm. It was, but not with enough frequency that he ever kind of found a place, we tried and he tried, and God love him still, but it was something that was introduced every other weekend that was just mm-hmm. would turn the crank a little bit more of the vice, and conflict. I knew something was wrong, and I didn't know what.
Right.
It was like smoke all around me, and I knew it. But I couldn't put my finger on it.
Right.
And he would make sideways comments, sometimes about, the way that I look. Mm-hmm. He would gaslight me. Mm-hmm. I had waited a long time to have this Christian marriage and this sex, this free-for-all sex, that was supposedly coming along with it. And I wanted to have sex all the time, you know. I love this man, and I found him very attractive. And my God, we're like, there's no guilt, there's no shame, right?
We can do it all.
Let's just do it all, all the time.
Yeah.
And he never wanted to.
Right.
And I remember him saying to me, well, if you didn't want it all the time, maybe I'd give it to you. Mm. And God,
and what I feel the pain of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's not what was supposed to be happening and being said, And I remember thinking in my mind,
who wouldn't want a wife that wants to have sex all the time?
That's what I remember thinking mm-hmm. in my mind. Is like, wait a minute, you've got all these friends that bitch and complain about their wives who don't ever want to have sex. You've got a hot wife that wants to have sex all the time. Like,
and is open about what we can. Yeah.
Yes. Like, what the fuck is the problem? What is going on here? What is it? Cognitive dissonance?
Yeah.
Is that what it
mm-hmm.
is? Yeah. It was just. I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I knew that man loved me. People told me how much he loved me. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't feeling the way that I thought it was supposed to feel,
mm-hmm. There was still something missing.
Yes, there was still something missing. And I would try and talk to him about it, and it would inevitably end up him yelling, me crying. I'd lock myself in the bathroom, and I'm pregnant here, on the mm-hmm. floor, mm-hmm. sobbing, mm-hmm. crying, mm-hmm. waiting for him to come rescue me, make it better, all that kind of stuff.
Rapunzel in the tower.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Damsel in distress.
Yeah. All the while pregnant.
So let's clock back to the story, because we've gone through the red flag pieces.
Yeah.
And so, and I want to also go, we were trying to juxtapose it so it wasn't a Pollyanna story, but let's go back to, like, it wasn't all conflict. It wasn't all hard.
No.
It wasn't like, there was a lot of fire and.
Yes, there was. And Mike, I have never met another human on this earth who I clicked with more creatively.
Right.
He could do anything. And when I solve anything, it was, and this tapped into a dad thing with me also, because my dad was very much like that, you know, could just knew how to fix everything, already knew how to do anything. You know, this was not in the time of YouTube with my dad, and he already would know how to do stuff, and, you know, or just figure it out. Or so that connected with
Bob
me.
Bob the Builder,
yes.
Sorry, Bob, I couldn't resist.
Yes. So, you know, to see that in this man also, it was a big connection for me.
That was also protection for you, because it was familiar.
Yes, absolutely. And it was paternally familiar.
And Mike also, it was a provider.
Yes.
Like, he was going to, like, there's and a protector. There's two things about him that I will highlight for you. Is one that, like, you know, for all his frailties, like, don't fuck with his family.
Yeah.
And, you know, don't fuck with his ability to take care of his family.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I
mean, he could be a bear in general, but like he was even protective of your kids. I mean, that's one of the big stories that, you know, came out of everything.
Yes, and
that's the Mike fucking Derrick.
It is, yes, and to this day, why those
Forgive
children?
me for saying fuck so much.
Yeah, it's a fuck kind of day. Why those children still to this day, you know, they're in their 20s now, still love that man so much, because he was invested in them. You know, as much of a dickhead as he could be to them.
They knew he loved them.
They knew, yes, and he was going to put in the time and effort to show them also that he loved them. Yeah,
to demonstrate it.
Yes, not just talk about it. Yeah, it wasn't just a theory.
So you have Colton.
Yep.
Yes,
yeah.
That timeline.
Yeah, have Colton. That was a crazy story, and it'll take too long, but I'll sum it up in I went into labor at 11:15 January 10th and had Colton at 3:15 January 11th morning, so like less than 4 hours later. It was hard and fast. But he was born, and he was beautiful, and he was perfect and healthy and all that kind of stuff, which healed something in my heart also. Because of West, my oldest son. He was perfect and wonderful. The circumstances of his birth, though, and the couple years after, were not. And so
they were medically traumatic.
And scary, and not how the birth of your precious baby, you know, is supposed to go. And so to hear Colton cry was miraculous, you know.
And going through childbirth with the person, like with your person, like they're like, for some people it's not the thing, but for some people it's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was for you, but like for us, it was a thing. Like I've never felt more connected, and supported and loved by JP as I did when I was like in the throes of, you know, active labor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All terrified. We're like, oh hell, what's on the other side of this?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, we knew at that point, we knew it was on the other side, and it was a lot of, sleepless nights. What it was. But yeah, so we had Colton, and January of 2015. Mike had been experiencing, and I'd track it back to the November, so Thanksgiving of 2014. I remember going to my sister's house for Thanksgiving, and he was so excited to eat. That man loved to eat lots. And he was so excited to eat, and we got there, and the meal was served, and he took like 3 bites and was like, I can't eat anymore. And I remember thinking, what? And I mean, he was concerned too, because this was so abnormal for him. And So again, just a one-off kind of thing. You know, I don't know. Let's just take some leftovers. Maybe you'll feel better tomorrow, and you can, you know, have Thanksgiving tomorrow. So that was in November. I remember I hired my friend Erica Carter to come take pictures on Valentine's Day of Colton, Cash, and Mike.
Yeah.
And I remember she texted me one of the pictures, and I remember looking at him and thinking, oh my God, he's so thin. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when somebody's in front of you every day, you know, it's like watching a child grow. You don't see it. But then the person that comes 6 months, you know, later is like, oh my God, they're a child now, you know. But I remember looking at that picture and thinking, oh shit.
Yeah.
What is happening, you know? Because he was not into weight loss.
Right.
He was always big and beefy, burly man. And I finally talked him into going to the doctor. He went to the doctor and they scheduled a colonoscopy and what is it called?
EGT.
Yes.
EGD.
EGD, yes. And we went that morning. I packed up, you know, Colton was 2.5 months old. I packed up the diaper bag, plenty of bottles, you know, for 2 or 3 feedings.
And where were y'all for this?
In Columbia, right off of 378. There's a one of those places that you go to have these tests done. And
endoscopy
yes,
center.
endoscopy center. Yeah, it's so funny. I used to, you know, could rattle off all the terms. And
don't worry if I got it wrong. We have some medical folks that'll correct me.
Yeah. Actually, though, don't correct me. That'll probably piss me off at this point in this story. That shit doesn't matter. Don't correct it. I say that with a snarl,
right,
and a warning. So, we get there. I've got all the stuff. They take Mike back, and there are tons of other people there. They take them back.
They all leave.
They're coming back out and leaving, Hours are passing. I'm walking Colton in his stroller. You know, it was like a cul-de-sac kind of thing with a pond at the end. We had walked the cul-de-sac, we'd walked the pond, we'd walked the cul-de-sac pond, you know, and I'm like, shit, you know, running out of, at this point, I have no bottle left and I can't nurse. And no diapers left. Like, Jesus, you know. And I remember walking back into the building, and I locked eyes with the receptionist, and she immediately looked down. And, you know, my knower knew something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so I walked over to her and said, where's my husband? And she said, the doctor will be out to see you soon. I remember I put my head down and said, God, whatever it is that you are getting ready to put us through, prepare me for it. Because I knew something was coming. And so, doctor, stop there. Okay. Scott says stop there.
So you guys can keep talking for a few minutes, but I think that's a great spot.
Okay. Fine with me.
Well, can I veto it and say, because I know the story. So, like, this is not the situation I was talking about. There's another one.
Oh, I do. That's why I think we could just, if we cut it here, it's so good.
Okay.
I'm going to trust him.
We're trusting our producer.
Yes.
32 minutes.
Yeah, we're trusting the producer to
That's
say,
his
okay.
job.
So so repeat that piece.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd locked eyes with the receptionist. She immediately looked down. I knew something was happening, and I looked down and prayed and said, God, whatever it is that you're about to put us through, you know, or not put us through, but what we're about to go through, just prepare me for it. Yeah. Standing there with my 2-month-old, I was 38. Mike was 38. Yeah. I was about to turn 39. He was 38. Yeah.
All right. So we'll leave that there.
Okay.
And we'll, what we'll do is we'll pick up there on the next episode.
Okay.
Dun. I want to just sorry. Da-da-da-da-dang. It's the mother. Sorry. You know, we can't do anything without levity.
That's right. My God.
As you hear more of our stories, you'll understand why we have such a twisted sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like when you've gone through hard stuff, like you can't not laugh at stuff.
Yeah. What's that saying? If I couldn't laugh, I'd cry. Or
Yeah.
yeah. Which
So-
I've done plenty of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to say thank you for like allowing me to just bear witness. And I know this is true for the listener and for Scott, you know, like bearing these parts of your story publicly.
Yeah.
Although you definitely like are the person who walks through life with an air of transparency and authenticity. Like we get to pick and choose those pieces. And so
Yeah.
to air it all in its totality is wildly vulnerable.
Yes.
And-
yeah. And I also promised that man that I'd keep telling his story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he asked me to
Yeah.
keep telling him. His heart was big and so was his ego. And he
Yeah.
wanted me to keep telling the
They were
story. And it's a story that should keep being told.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we still have the floods and all of that stuff to
Oh
go
my
through.
God.
There's a lot of it.
Yes. Yeah. And I did, this is also not just telling a story for story's sake.
Yeah.
This is part of my grief process.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were talking about earlier how this is normal. It has been 5 years and I'm still talking about it. That is normal.
Yeah.
And also it is counterculture.
Yeah. Yeah, because we should have been over it by now.
Right.
Like he's gone, bury him, let the dead be dead. I mean, all the things
Yeah.
we hear people say, right?
Yes.
You know, in our Western culture. I will say, you know, I talked to somebody the other day, they were like, I don't understand why this person needed to be out of work for this long for this thing. And I'm like, I think about people, you know, a Jewish tradition where you sit Shiva,
Yeah.
you know, and your family, like your people bring you, they come and sit with you. They bring you food. They make sure you're nourished. There may even be periods of fasting and stuff. You're allowing yourself to be quiet in your grief,
Yeah.
right? Or in African cultures where they like lament at the well, they lament at the river, you know,
Yes.
and they allow it to all come out,
Yes.
you know, we stuff it.
Yeah.
So we have to like, it's a release valve for us. Like this is our way, like it's countercultural, but it's like literally honoring ourselves in every way.
Yes, absolutely. And I love I'll leave it at this, that meme that I just posted as
Yeah.
my cover picture on Facebook about how we are allowed to make a big deal out of the things that are a big deal to us.
Mm-hmm.
We
Absolutely.
are allowed to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So just thank you for allowing me to sit in space with you
Yes,
as you
thank you
share
for
this
listening.
story. I mean, I know I've been along for a lot of it, but
Yeah.
I also like being able to sit here and allow you the space to retell it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
as a healing part of the process
Yeah. Thank you.
and an excising part of the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for listening,
Yeah. Thank y'all.
for holding space with us. And just being with us. You can listen on Spotify, iTunes. We have it posted to Facebook Live and what? Oh yeah, YouTube. Y'all, if you want to see us, you can come to YouTube and Facebook. If you want to hear us, you can go to iTunes and Spotify.
Yeah.
We're on social channels as Nude and Lude, or Nude and Lude Podcast.
Yes.
NEWD and LUDE.
Yes.
Yep. And we look forward to connecting with you guys next time. And we'll pick up where we left
Dun, dun, dun.
the rest of the story.
Rest of the story.
Thank you guys. Y'all have a
Thanks.
wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Bye.